The US unemployment rate dropped to its pre-pandemic low of 3.5% in April, while job growth moderated to a still brisk pace amid widespread worker shortages, underscoring the challenge the Federal Reserve faces to curb high inflation. Here are the details of these and other stories making headlines across borders.
The unemployment rate in the US is likely to have reduced to 3.5%, which will be the lowest level since February 2020. The jobless rate was at 3.6% in March and has declined by 0.4 of the percentage point this year. There were a record of 11.5 million job openings on the last day of March, which widened the job workers gap to a record of 3.4% of the labor force from 3.1% in February. Growing worker shortages were evident this week in other labor market reports, which all pointed to slower employment gains in April. With the gap between labor demand and supply widening, wages likely maintained their strong growth pace. Elsewhere, stock markets in Asia and America tumbled after the US Central Bank this week announced the biggest interest rate rise in 22 years. The sell-off comes as worries intensified over how rising prices that came after shares in New York fell sharply, led by technology stocks. Hong Kong's benchmark Hang Seng index fell 3.6%, while shares on the Shanghai Stock Exchange were down 2.3%. Australia's ASX 200 was 2.4% lower, those followed by Dow Index, which include big names such as Apple, Nike, sliding by 3.1%. The losses wiped out the gains the market had enjoyed on Wednesday after the Federal Reserve announced it was raising its benchmark rate by half percentage point. Finally, Italian luxury brand Gucci will start accepting payments in cryptocurrencies in some of its stores in America. This service will be rolled out later this month at some of its flagship outlets in Los Angeles and New York. The announcement by such a high-profile brand marks another step forward for the acceptance of cryptocurrencies by mainstream businesses. Some of the world's biggest brands now accept digital currencies, including technology giant Microsoft, US telecoms firms AT&T, and coffee chain Starbucks. Bitcoin has also become legal tender in 2 countries, El Salvador and the Central African Republic. Terry Njenga for Lunchtime News.